Today we have a strange case of the toxic lady. Buckle in because this one makes no sense. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today's strange case is about Gloria Ramirez, or dubbed as the toxic lady. Now before we jump into this, I want to let you guys know that we also do stream over on Twitch, Metal Hay Show, where it's a stream centered around horror, serial killers, debunking ghosts and paranormal encounters, true crime, and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are into that, into the weird, why not come on over to Twitch and hit that follow button. On February 19th, 1994, 31-year-old Gloria Ramirez, who was recently diagnosed with cervical cancer, fell ill at her home in Riverside, California. As she was in her home, she started to convulse and started to throw up uncontrollably into a bowl beside her. Her family watching over her got very concerned for her, so they called an ambulance. They were thinking maybe it was cancer, maybe it was the drugs. No. Things get a little bit more weird. So as the ambulance picked her up, she was brought into Riverside General Hospital, to their emergency room at 8:14 p.m. Her blood pressure was low because her heart was beating so rapidly that her heart chambers couldn't fill up adequately, which was very weird to have a condition like this at such a young age. So the hospital staff brought her in, started doing drug treatments, and started to pump her lungs full of air because she was also having troubles breathing. As they were ventilating her, her heartbeat started to drop, dip lower and lower. So at this point, the doctors and nurses were trying to resuscitate Ramirez, trying to bring her back. But then something strange happens. Nurse Sally Balderas, she recalls seeing a weird, odd, greasy film on Ramirez's skin, kind of like a puddle of oil on the pavement, which I don't even want to picture right now. Balderas and some other people in the room with Ramirez also noticed a faint smell, almost similar to ammonia. Nurse Susan Kane drew a blood sample from Ramirez, and she began to notice a weird odor coming from her blood as well. She handed it to respiratory therapist Maureen Welch, who sniffed it and reported an ammonia smell to it. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think blood is supposed to smell like ammonia. Within seconds of drawing the blood and handing it over, Nurse Kane collapsed, fell to the ground. She was still conscious, but then she said she started to feel burning pains all around her face. The doctors and nurses were confused, so they brought in a gurney and they stretched her off. Welch, the other nurse, in turn gave the syringe to one of the medical students, Julie Gorginski. She observed the blood and reported that there's weird kind of like white crystals within it and manila-colored particles. Julie, the medical student, soon after Kane collapsed, began to experience lightheadedness. Unable to keep her feet below her, she collapsed as well and passed out. She had severe difficulty breathing, and she was one of the most severely affected members of the hospital staff. Dr. Mark Thomas was next to feel ill. Though he did feel ill, he was able to manage to keep the feet underneath him and keep on trying to resuscitate Ramirez. Welch, the nurse, was the next one to fall ill. She fainted and she began to thrash violently on the ground, her limbs going wild. Nurse Sally Balderas began to experience a burning on her skin, and she began to violently vomit everywhere. Balderas spent 10 days in the hospital. Gorginski also remained in the hospital for 2 weeks. Out of 37 hospital staff present that day, 23 reported an affliction of some sort. The total number of complaints would later reach 30. The emergency room director ordered an evacuation of the room. Only him and 3 other staffs remained to try and resuscitate Ramirez. The emergency room director, though, did not feel ill, nor could he smell anything wrong. No smell of ammonia, no nothing. Sadly, Ramirez was pronounced dead at 8:50 p.m. Her body was sealed in an airtight bag and left for the hazardous team to come and take her away. Coroners got the body and began to look into it, but there is no answer to what actually caused this. Now, what are a few theories to this? Theory 1, the staff experienced mass hysteria. That's an interesting theory. It's quite possible. Maybe it was a long day that day. Who really knows? Theory number 2, the hospital actually has a history of hazardous gas leaks from 1991 to 1993, which was fixed, but this took place in 1994, so I don't know about that theory. To this day, this case remains unsolved. It is definitely a thinker. My theory? I have no idea. It could have been the medication that she was taking for her cancer. Maybe something happened with that. I am no doctor, so I couldn't really tell you. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any theories? Let me know. If you enjoyed this case of the toxic lady, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next spooky video.